All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about something that is so important as we get older, and that's keeping our legs strong. And look, this is about way more than just getting from point A to point B. It's really about our independence, our confidence. It's about having the power to live the life you want, on your own terms. And today, we're going to break down the key nutrients that are the absolute foundation for that strength.
I mean, just take a second and really think about that. Waking up every day feeling strong, steady, full of energy. Imagine, no more of that nagging muscle weakness, no more of those awful sudden leg cramps in the middle of the night. And maybe best of all, no more of that little voice in the back of your head worried about balance or taking a fall. Now, this isn't some fantasy, okay? It's totally achievable. And the secret? Well, it really comes down to nutrition. Giving your body the exact tools it needs to keep your legs powerful and, yeah, pretty much unstoppable.
So, let's get into the challenge itself. Look, it's something a lot of us feel, right? As we get a bit older, things just change. Movements that used to be second nature, totally effortless, they can start to feel a little harder. But here's the most important thing I want you to take away. Even though this is a common challenge, it is not a destiny you just have to accept. Not at all. Once we understand the why behind it, we can actually take some really powerful steps to fight back. So, the big question is, why? Why do our legs seem to weaken as we age? I mean, what's actually happening in our bodies? It's a question a lot of us have probably asked ourselves, when that flight of stairs suddenly feels like a mountain, or getting up from a comfy chair takes a little extra push. Is this just something we have to live with? Well, the answer is kinda yes and no. Sure, some changes are natural, but a huge part of the weakness and instability we might feel, that's directly tied to things we absolutely have control over. Okay, and what's really interesting here is how all these things are connected. It's like a domino effect. You've got declining muscle mass, that's called sarcopenia, and it goes hand in hand with losing bone density, or osteoporosis. Right there, you've created a really fragile system. Then you throw in painful muscle cramps and a breakdown in that super important communication line between your brain and your muscles, and suddenly it's really easy to see why the risk of falls goes way up. But the fascinating part, the thing that's so often missed, at the root of all of this are specific nutritional gaps that we can totally fix.
All right, so where do we even begin to rebuild that strength and keep it? Well, we have to start with the absolute foundation. I want you to think of your leg strength like you're building a house. These next two nutrients we're going to talk about, they're the concrete foundation and the steel frame. They are the non-negotiables, the starting point for literally everything else, and they are vitamin D and calcium.
Okay, let's talk about vitamin D. For years, and I mean years, we pretty much only heard about vitamin D in one context, bone health, right? The story was simple, it helps you absorb calcium, end of story. But what we know now is that its role is so much bigger than that. Vitamin D is a massive player when it comes to muscle function, to balance, to coordination. So it's not just about having strong bones, it's about having the power in your muscles to actually move those bones. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. I mean, it is a night and day difference. When you have enough vitamin D, your body is just better at building and keeping muscle. Simple as that. Your coordination gets better. But here's the real kicker. Vitamin D is absolutely critical for your fast-twitch muscle fibers. Now, what are those? They're your emergency responders. They're the fibers that fire in a split second to catch you when you trip or lose your balance. When you're low on vitamin D, those fibers start to weaken, your reaction time gets slower, and your body's ability to save you from a fall just plummets. It's like your internal safety net is slowly fraying. Okay, so vitamin D is busy powering up the muscles, but those muscles need a solid structure to work with, right? And that's exactly where calcium comes into play. It's literally the bedrock of your entire skeleton. As we age, we naturally start to lose a bit of bone mass, and that makes our bones more fragile, more likely to fracture. I mean, a little stumble that would have been nothing in your 20s could suddenly become a really serious hip fracture. Calcium is our #1 defense against that. It's what keeps our bones dense and strong.
So what's the magic number we're aiming for? Well, for older adults, the goal is about 1,200 milligrams a day. And listen, that's not just some casual suggestion. That's the amount you need to actively fight back against the natural bone loss that happens over time. But don't forget, calcium isn't just about structure. It's also a key player in making your muscles work. Every single time you take a step, it's calcium that's triggering that muscle contraction, making sure the movement is smooth. So if you're getting a lot of leg cramps or your legs just feel kind of sluggish, that could be a clue that you're not getting enough.
Okay, so how do we actually get to that 1,200 milligram target? The best way is to mix it up. First up, food.
Dairy is the obvious one, of course, but don't forget about leafy greens like kale and bok choy. Even things like sardines and almonds are great. Next, keep your eyes peeled for fortified foods. A lot of plant-based milks, orange juice, even cereals have extra calcium added in, and that's a super easy way to get a boost. And last but not least, if you're thinking about a supplement, just be smart about it. Remember, calcium and vitamin D are a team. Taking them together makes a huge difference in how well your body absorbs the calcium and puts it right where it belongs, in your bones. All right, we've got our foundation and our frame locked in with vitamin D and calcium. But any good house needs more than that, right? It needs the electrical wiring, the plumbing, the stuff that makes everything actually work. That's what we're diving into next. These are the unsung heroes, the nutrients that are the critical support system for your legs, but don't always get the spotlight.
Now, before we get to our next nutrient, we need to understand this idea of neuromuscular function. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Just think of it like the high-speed communication network between your brain and your muscles. Your brain is the command center, and it's sending these little electrical messages down your nerves to tell your leg muscles exactly what to do and when to do it. For your legs to feel strong and quick, that signal has to be super clear with no static on the line. And this is where vitamin B12 is an absolute superstar. Think of B12 as the stuff that keeps that communication network healthy. Without enough B12, those signals from your brain can get weak or garbled or slow. And that can show up as heavy, tired legs, or even that weird numbness and tingling feeling. Now here's the real issue. B12 deficiency is super common in older adults. Why? Because our bodies need enough stomach acid to absorb it, and that tends to decrease as we age. So you could be eating all the right foods but still not getting what you need. And this is so important. People often write off these symptoms as just getting old, when really, it's a deficiency we can fix.
Okay, let's move on to our next unsung hero. If vitamin B12 is all about keeping the signals clear, then magnesium is all about managing how the muscle responds to those signals. Calling it the master regulator is just perfect. Because think about it. For every step you take, your muscles have to contract, but they also have to relax. Magnesium is the mineral that's in charge of that whole process, making sure your muscles don't get stuck in the on position. It basically keeps the whole system from going haywire.
So, what does this master regulator actually do for you? Well, let me ask you this. Do you ever get those awful, painful leg cramps in the middle of the night? Or that twitchy, antsy feeling known as restless legs? That is a classic sign of not having enough magnesium. It's basically your body screaming that it can't get your muscles to relax properly. Magnesium steps in and helps calm everything down. It also helps with general muscle fatigue, and, here's that teamwork thing again, it actually helps calcium do its job building strong bones. It's another one of those perfect nutritional partnerships.
Okay, we've talked about the big foundation pieces and the crucial support system. Now it's time to bring it all home with a real action plan. Because, knowing all this stuff is great, but it's useless if we don't know what to do with it. So this next part is all about turning this knowledge into a super simple guide you can literally take with you to the grocery store.
So we've hit the big four, but there are a few other key players that are part of the team. Think of them as the supporting cast. First up, you've got potassium. It works right alongside magnesium to help prevent cramps by keeping the fluids in your muscle cells balanced. Then we have vitamin K. I love this analogy. Think of vitamin K as the traffic cop for calcium. It literally tells calcium where to go, into your bones, and keeps it out of places it shouldn't be, like your arteries. And finally, vitamin B6. It's great for nerve health, but it also helps make red blood cells. Why does that matter? Because those cells deliver oxygen to your muscles. If your legs get tired really fast, it could be an oxygen issue, and B6 is a huge part of that whole delivery system.
So, after all that, what's the bottom line? What's the big takeaway here? It's actually pretty simple. Your single most powerful weapon is a balanced diet that's packed with a variety of good foods. Now, don't get me wrong, supplements can be a huge help, especially if you know you're low in something specific like vitamin D or B12. But nothing beats the way all these nutrients work together when you get them from whole foods, from the spinach, the salmon, the yogurt. That creates a foundation of health that is truly your best defense against your legs getting weaker as you get older.
And so I want to leave you with this one final thought. Our legs, they are our connection to everything. To the world, to our freedom, to all the things we love to do. They literally carry us through our entire lives. So the real question isn't if they'll face challenges, but what are we going to do to carry them? By focusing on these nutrients, you're not just eating for today, you're investing in a future where you feel strong, stable, and confident on your own 2 feet. Thanks so much for joining me for this.